So this series of works are directly coming out of the research that I was doing with the advisor's flower. And they began with the discovery of this enormous amount of digitized British documents, many of them confidential, and were meticulously kept in colonial archives, both in India and in the UK. And some of the first records that I found were these like simple logs that described kind of like the comings and goings of the agency garden in Bahrain. The agency garden being the British political agency that was set up in Manama. And in this garden, it seems that this was the place that plants and flowers from all over the empire were imported and used to beautify the grounds, essentially, and to spread throughout Bahrain to beautify the country. And it was actually in these records where I first found evidence of the advisor, Charles Belgrave, introducing oleanders to different parts of Bahrain. So they had records of him he was not an employee of the political agency. He was, again, an employee of the Bahrain government. But he would come and had very close ties to the political agents, would come in and ask them to take cuttings of oleanders, seeds of oleanders to plant in other areas of Bahrain. While studying these records, I was also spending a lot of time going back to Bahrain, taking a lot of photographs and documenting this plant throughout the island, not only in Bahrain, but also around the world. So in the last 4 years, I've photographed so many oleander plants, and I've amassed like a huge number of images. And as I was reading through these letters and these logs and secret, confidential, like intelligence reports, public announcements, requests for seeds, even a printing press so that they could like counteract growing dissent on the island, I began sifting through the words and attempting to clarify the true meaning between the lines, so to speak. And what emerged from this was a series of works that are reframing and retelling the found narratives in a way which kind of highlights the toxicity of British colonial practice and allows for this poison to really come through the pages. This, has been like a really exciting. I've been working on this for about 7 or 8 months now, and since I started this new series, and it's been a really exciting way of going back to some of the ways of working that I really loved. So, going back to 10 plus years ago when I was saying my practice was mainly drawing based, this was something that I really wanted to try again and really try to embrace. And so using photography, using drawing, finding ways to kind of like selectively mask, certain texts, really kind of like parse through all of the, very flowery language in some cases, no pun intended, but really to kind of like get to the root of, again, sorry, but to get to the root of what is being said. So, and the British really kept like the best records. Like if they did anything really well, they kept the best records. And it's, really kind of like backfired in this case. But you'll find things like a bill sent from like the Water and Electricity Ministry Authority, billing the agency for its use of water in the garden. And then the agency will get back saying, hold on, we've never been billed before. Why are you sending this now? And you find this moment where some of like that truth is coming to the surface, where like they had very special connections. And so we're able to kind of like exist rent free in a way in this place and really use its resources without having to pay for anything. And the advisor was kind of at the center of this. So later on in the correspondence, they agree to wait for the advisor to kind of decide what to do. And I think he was like away on leave at that point. So they're like, let's put this on hold until he's back and then we can talk about it. But really, again, like looking at photography, drawing, layering. I mean, the beauty I feel of the original records is just how layered they are with one document on top of the other, and accumulates kind of like the age, not only of the paper, but also of how the materials they write with and how the typewriters kind of like age over time and add these different layers to these documents that you can begin to reveal and conceal. And so again, I was here working with that text to highlight some things, even working with some handwriting to try to transcribe and do some of that early diary work myself. What I really enjoyed finding actually is kind of like through these compositions, ways of collapsing the past and the present, not only through these archival documents that are almost 100 years old, paired with these images taken in the last 5 years, but also in the way that technology works. Like in this particular collage, after I made it, I immediately saw this connection to like how WhatsApp messages work, and having like this conversation between two people be recorded with this beautiful background, recreating these correspondences in this way where you're able to kind of like see the log happening almost in one space. I found really fascinating. And then working with collage in a way where you have within this two-dimensional space some hint of a three-dimensional space beyond, through cutouts, through this kind of like surface, which I find again like is almost like a window that you're looking through.
Thanks for checking out this Geeks Shorts episode. This is just one of 10 chapters featuring the speaker's artwork, artistic practice, and direct conversations with the community. The full-length video, only publicly available for a limited time, can be found in the Geeks Talk subscriber archive, where you can also discover hours of content on even more contemporary glass artists and researchers. As a BIPOC and artist-led organization, Geeks redefines the culture of contemporary glass by canonizing artists and thinkers who have been historically marginalized in the field. If you'd like to support this effort, subscribe to Geeks and gain access to exclusive content. For more info, visit geeks.glass/support. Thanks to this episode's sponsors, listed on screen and in the video description below.